12 on ABC Radio Melbourne and Victoria, digital radio and Radio Australia as well. Karina Rocketel with me in the studio from the Liberal Party in the No Case. Peter Rose, editor and CEO of the Australian Book Review, poet and author, is here from the Yes Case. I'm Jon Faine. We're joined by Maria Vanvakunu. She's the Federal Labor member for Colwell, an electorate that had the lowest vote in Victoria in support of the Yes Case. Only 43% of her constituents voted yes, in a state that voted very strongly in much higher proportions for same-sex marriage. Ms Vanvakunu, good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, John. How are you?
What does it mean that your electorate has the lowest turnout on the yes side of anywhere in Victoria?
Well, I guess essentially it means that a large number of people in my electorate, did not support marriage equality. So
65% of Victorians do, but only 43% in your constituency.
Well, I have an interesting constituency, John. I have a very large faith community, a very committed faith community.
What does faith community mean?
Well, I have a very large number of newly arrived refugees from Iraq who are a very practicing Christian community. I have a very large established community of people who are of the Muslim faith. I have lots of other Orthodox and Christian denominations. My experience with the people that I represent is that they, by and large, a lot of their values and practices are affected very much by their faith, and so it doesn't surprise me that the actual figures are as they are, and it does surprise me that there's only 2 seats in Victoria, perhaps, that are in that category of having voted no.
Colwell and Bruce, and Bruce was at 46.9%. Your constituents 43.2%. To cut to the chase, what we've got a huge gap then between people who have newly arrived and their social values and sometimes religious values compared to the rest of the population.
Well, there's also, having said that, there's also a very large established community who is included in that no vote. So it's not exclusively...
No, not exclusively, but
only because
in shorthand, we've got a lot of people who have come to Australia in order to enjoy an Australian lifestyle and Australian values, but who vote against them.
Well, I'm not sure that they're voting against them, John, and my interest in the debate now is, and because I'll be voting in favour of marriage equality, my interest has been to ensure that post the vote, and now we have the vote, that my job, at least as a local member and as a person who's, on the political scene itself, is to ensure that we come to a process of dialogue and healing and coming together of the community. I'm not interested in perpetuating divisions.
Okay, so according to those who say that members of Parliament should represent their constituents, and Tony Abbott, because 73% of people in his electorate voted yes, he should too, I guess they'd argue you should vote no.
Well, I represent a constituency, but I'm also looking at a poll where 60+% of Australians overall have voted in favour of marriage equality, and I think that is as strong a consideration as the poll in my electorate is. And I think that the overriding community view on this case is going to be informing the way I vote. Having said that, and I want to impress this, I actually have a great regard for my constituents, and I respect and understand where many of them are coming from.
So how are you going to explain yourself to them when you are voting yes and only, doing the math, 67% of them voted no?
Well, it's explaining...
Sorry, 57%. I didn't carry the naught.
No, well, it'll be what I said initially. I mean, it's about representing the broader Australian community view on this issue. It's an issue that, for all people, is about their rights and equality, and it's also about people's values and their beliefs. And I start from the point that I understand where people are coming from, those who have voted no. I don't think they're bigots. I don't think they're anti-gay people. I think that they come from a mindset and a value system that perhaps in time will change. So it's not a question of explaining myself, it's a question of putting forward a position that I now hold. and I will work with them to ensure that our community comes together, and not just my community, but the broader Australian community, because these issues have a tendency, if not handled sensitively and respectfully, to become divisive, and I'm certainly not interested in perpetuating division. 60% of the Australian community have voted yes in favour of marriage equality, and my view is that someone who will have a say in the federal parliament, I will respect that 60%. And having said that, I also respect the view of my own constituency, and I understand where they're coming from, and I will continue to work with them and represent them on a whole host of other issues, not just this issue. My constituents have got a host of other issues, John, that are of greater importance to them,
indeed.
and I'm with them on that one, I can assure you.
I hope we can get back to some of the other things that matter. Thank you indeed, Maria Van Vakunu, Labor member for Colwell, recording the lowest yes vote in Victoria. David Murrumbina, morning.